So this is my story on how not to install a progression ignition system. Well, there is a happy ending, so you have to stick around for that. I've been looking at different ignition systems for my car. I wanted to make sure that my timing was good, and to be honest, the old distributors, while maybe you can send them off to one place in the whole universe to get it tuned correctly, I wanted to be able to make adjustments myself and be confident on what the timing was actually doing. So I started to look into Progression Ignitions. That's a very, it's a newer company, but it's been actually not that new. I think they've been out for several years now. And what they allow you to do is to digitally control your distributor and your timing. There is a Bluetooth connection to an app where you can monitor and change your ignition mapping. And on top of that, there's no mechanical advance whatsoever. Everything is controlled digitally. It does have a vacuum sensor on it, but that doesn't mechanically move the advance. It just tells the system where the vacuum is at. They are not cheap. It's not the most expensive ignition out there, but they're certainly not cheap. I was very fortunate and found one on eBay for a couple $100 less than brand new. So I went ahead and grabbed it. I got it here and then did what I thought was the correct installation. I wasn't quite mad at the seller yet because I knew I probably screwed up somewhere. So I certainly took the blame for that, and you'll kind of see where I kind of messed it up. In the end, what I ended up doing was replacing quite a bit of parts that normally you wouldn't. Replace my harmonic balancer, brand new wires, spark plugs, and the distributor cap that I did get from the eBay seller was not working either. The center electrode inside the cap had broken off. But luckily, these Progression Ignition caps are actually just MSD caps, so they're readily available. So I just grabbed one of those off of Amazon. You can actually use the MSD parts. They're about twice as much, but the one that I got from Amazon worked just great. Got the new cap on and got the engine started. Immediately I noticed that it was running very poorly. It was missing, and when I put a timing light on it, it would just literally drop off. The other symptom that I noticed was that the app would disconnect from the distributor, so I was not able to monitor what it was doing. It would disconnect after just a second or two, and I knew I had done something wrong. I went back through the installation steps, and the one thing that I had assumed going in was that I actually had a full 12 volts at the coil. Some of the behavior that I was seeing made me suspect that maybe I didn't really. On many older vehicles that run points, they don't actually want 12 volts at the coil. 12 volts will destroy a set of points pretty quickly, so they run resistors, and in different manners. On this old Mustang, there is a resistor wire. It's actually pink, that runs between the ignition switch and the coil. That resistor wire was preventing the progression ignition to getting the full 12 volts that it needed. I unplugged the connector under the dash and ran a jumper wire from the ignition switch directly to the coil. I knew that I had a solid 12 volts, and that was the answer. So now I have a rock steady idle, and just revving the engine, it just sounds perfect. I have not gone for a test drive yet, but I am certainly looking forward to it. So the lesson learned here is A, read the instructions and actually follow them all the way, and B is when you are working on these old cars, don't assume that you do have 12 volts where you need to have it unless you know for sure it does. And if you see some of the symptoms that you saw earlier in my video, the one thing to look for is making sure that you do have clean power to this ignition system. I'm looking forward to playing with it now, making sure that I've got the right maps for it, but it sounds great so far. Thanks for watching my little video here.